You're watching Open Agenda. Here's our host, Joe White.
Welcome to Open Agenda. I'm your host, Joe White. So it is the end of August, or the second half, and school is about to start. Dr. Venosa's got class coming up soon. So we want to talk a little bit about education. In the studio with me right now is Mr. Jim Atkins and the aforementioned Dr. Venosa. Thank you.
Thank you.
So, gentlemen, I want to bring in Bonnie Ennis. She's District 5, or she's the at-large.
At-large for now, yeah.
Yeah, for the Board of Education. And I want to ask her about some of the challenges. Also, they were funded above maintenance of effort this year. Mm-hmm. That was a permanent funding.
Yeah.
So, and ask her just really how that works, because I'm sure for a lot of folks out there that's maybe
people still don't really know, yeah.
And Jim, you and I attended the county council meeting today, and they had a quarterly session with the Board of Education. We weren't there for that part, but we did see the meet with the folks from the Watchman Group and the NAACP following up on the lawsuit that has led to us having 7 elected districts in the next election.
You said that the legal department is working on that. Do they have a timeline as to when they're going to, because we're in the 8th month now of the year, that they can let us know as to that it's created? And
Mr. Wilbur, if you could come to the podium, or you could come to the chair if you want to address it.
To answer your question, the Human Rights Advisory Committee, that should come forward as a resolution to the council within the next month. And as far as the anti-bias training, I had talked with Legit about that back in April. ACLU had requested copy of written materials that would be the subject of the anti-bias training. And I requested that in May and again in July, and haven't received it. So that's where that stands.
You requested it from whom?
From Legit.
Who's Legit?
That's the local government insurance trust, who said that they could provide the anti-bias training. I'm waiting to receive the written materials, which will be you might say, the foundation for the training session that they will conduct.
The council got a list of questions that they were going to be asked so they could get their answers together. The very interesting part about it is the council is not responsible for the majority of what they were being asked to answer for.
Yeah.
They were, for examples, they were being asked about selections for different committees. Mm-hmm. That's not the council's purview. That's the executive's choice, and the council either accepts them or declines them. And a lot of the questions that were being asked, the council had to go outside, either to the executive.
Right.
They went out to the sheriff's department.
Yeah.
They went out to the state's attorney's office to get answers.
Right.
And it's not the council's job to answer these questions.
No, but again, what's interesting is that the council is the only government body that has the forum where those questions can even be asked.
Yeah.
And this is the thing that we sort of go back to, especially with regard to the executive, who I think from that meeting that you attended, was sort of clear to see. A lot of the default answer is, good question, this is under the executive's purview. The executive doesn't attend council meetings anymore for whatever reason. There is not a built-in structure for the executive to have, for example, office hours with the public, or to, have meet and greets with constituents, unless they're, campaign contributors perhaps. And so we're in a situation where the council is being asked to do somebody else's job for them.
Yeah, this was a perfect example today, and opportunity for either the executive or the director of administration.
Yeah, even
to have been present.
Yeah.
It wasn't confrontational at all.
No, there was no confrontation shown at all, no animosity. They were questions that the NAACP had put forward that were supposed to be acted on from the previous lawsuit, and they just wanted, I would call it a progress report on what's happening, the things that were promised that were going to happen. Where are we and what's happening with them? And all the parties that should have been there to answer their portion of the questions weren't there. So it fell upon the council to go out and get these answers
I
and
thought
then
it was-
sit there and try to answer them.
I thought it was interesting that President John Cannon really didn't address that part of it, though. He would answer it on an individual basis.
Yeah.
But at no point in time did he actually just say, hey, listen, a lot of the questions about training, department head hiring, and that sort of thing would be directed directly at the executive. He just kept kind of pushing it down.
And that's really important, too, because given the context that the current county executive has often pursued policies or personnel choices that very much are at issue with some of the NAACP's concerns. For example, they were inquiring about anti-bias training and about the appointment of people on certain commissions. Well, we know for a fact that there have been people that the executive has put or nominated on commissions who have stepped down because of things like having documented usage of racial slurs.
Well, like on the Police Accountability Board.
Police Accountability Board.
Yeah.
So it's not just that it's the executive's responsibility to at least be in the room, but this particular executive is actually a demonstration of their concerns. And nothing seems to be done as to hold that branch of government accountable.
Well, one of the more interesting things to me that came up today was a statement that had been made by Sheriff Lewis probably 3-4 weeks ago now that he was working on establishing an MOU, Memorandum of Understanding, with the executive's office to use the detention facilities to house persons that are apprehended by ICE. And one of the NAACP's major things today was, well, they were asking the council, will you approve this memorandum or will you not approve it? And, the memorandum's got to be written first and then presented to them to see what the argument is, either to approve it or not to approve it. But the thing that popped into my head immediately was Safari and the Quarry. If the executive makes the memorandum for 364 days,
Right.
the council will never see it because she's allowed to do it a day under a year. She can do all the MOUs she wants.
And
so
she's proven that she's
that
willing
she's
to do
capable
that.
of doing it. So that's
a
another
really good point.
That's
Yeah.
another reason why the right people weren't in the room to answer the questions.
Yeah.
Well, I want to bring in Dr. Ennis, and I want to ask her some of the good things about the Board of Education, and also find out some of the challenges she feels like they face. And if you would, Jim, stick around, bring you back after she's here, and I'd like to just follow up and see what she has to say. So stay with us. When we come back, we're going to bring in Dr. Bonnie Ennis from the Board of Education. So stay with us. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Open Agenda. So to continue the conversation about the Board of Education, some of their challenges, what do they see as some of their future endeavors, we wanted to bring in Dr. Bonnie Ennis from the Board of Education. Thank you very much.
Thank you for inviting me.
Dr. Jovanosa, thanks for sticking around.
Got two doctors around here. Be careful.
I'm the
man.
dumbest guy here, so that's all right.
You get sick, we're not going to be able to help you.
That's right. You're on your own.
Well, Dr. Ennis, I want to ask you, really, in your time on the Board of Education, what are some of the challenges that you've seen that the Board of Education has been able to overcome so far?
And I'll go back on that and say it's not just the Board of Education. I have to give credit to Dr. Micah Stauffer.
Okay.
Because I think one of the biggest challenges that we've overcome as a school district is funding. For the first time, you have to give Dr. Stauffer credit. For the first time in 10, 15 years, we're finally looking at a maintenance of effort that is well over what we have been given the year before. And that goes back to when we had the past county executive that asked for a waiver from the state, and our maintenance of effort never recovered. Our per
went
pupil
down.
funding, it went down, and it never recovered. So for the first time, Dr. Stauffer brought together our community, our businesses, the Greater Salisbury Committee, and the county council and the county executive were all on the same page
Well,
in looking for that funding.
Let's talk a little bit about how that funding model worked, because if you go back to fiscal year 25, the year before, there was $1 million, a one-time payment, $1 million above maintenance of effort, but that's a one-time payment.
So one-time payment, and and again, how it is looked at as a one-time payment doesn't add to maintenance of effort
In the future.
in the future. And so the floor now for us becomes the number that we get this year. That's the floor.
Yeah.
And with maintenance of effort, the county is responsible for providing that floor again and anything that they can above.
And so you did get a permanent increase, but then
Yes.
you also got an additional investment as well.
Yes,
Was it an
absolutely.
additional 2%, correct?
Yes.
And like you said, you give a lot of credit to Micah Stauffer.
Absolutely.
You feel like that direction for the funding is getting a little bit more in line for where we need to catch up from 2010?
Yes, I think Dr. Stauffer brought it to everyone's attention that not only did we need the funding, but what did we need the funding for?
Okay.
You know, we have a district that has a lot of needs. We have a large number of multilingual learners that need special instruction. We also have a large number of students with mental health issues. And so, you know, combine that with the students with special needs, we have a lot of challenges. And those challenges each require, you know, special teachers, special situations. We may need to put them in a small group setting. We have our sheltered classrooms at our middle schools where we, you know, primarily put our multilingual learners until they have a good handle on the language. And so all of those pieces come together, create an environment that takes a lot of money to run a school district.
So beyond the maintenance of effort, a lot of the funding comes from the state of Maryland, and there was a lot of math put out there, a lot of numbers.
Yes.
Can you explain a little bit about how the state determines what portion that they fund?
Sure. You know, we have our title grants, which come through the state. We have our Title I, Title II, Title III, and Title IV grants, which we had anticipated maybe losing some of that, but they have been able to, put that money back into our system. But then the state takes a look at our poverty rate. 65% of our students are designated as being impoverished.
2 out of 3.
And so that is, you know, a significant number, and they take a look at those, you know, what are our needs? And so that's how they determine their funding for the district. You know, we receive far more than our neighbor, Worcester County,
Okay.
because their local needs are not as great as our needs are.
And that can be different than the per student average total if you combine state and county money.
Absolutely.
But at the end of the day, the county has, since 2010, been much below that curve, and
Absolutely.
they're doing a little bit to catch up.
We were next to last year in county appropriations toward our per pupil funding.
So what other needs do you think need to be addressed now that this process has at least started?
Yeah, I think everybody would agree that one of the things that really needs to be addressed is the mental health of our students. We can't keep blaming everything on COVID. But we do have some significant issues with our students. So to address those issues, so that our classrooms our teachers can provide adequate instruction in the classroom without interruptions, we have looked at our Dr. Stauffer has brought in some additional resources for those students who need some smaller class sizes, some one-on-one instruction. And so we're still struggling to get parents engaged back into the schools.
And the irony, too, is there's also been a tremendous drop-off in PTAs, right?
Yes, well, not all of our schools have a PTA
Correct,
because we don't have the volunteers or the
number of
parents
people,
that want to participate in it.
What do you think can be done to re-engage in that setting?
Well, I think one of the things that we've been trying to do is to have a number of activities that invite the parents in a non-threatening manner.
Okay.
You know, having parents, when we used to have PTAs, you know, I would have parents out my door as a classroom teacher, have them out the door, you know, waiting to talk one-on-one because they were interested in what their child is doing in school. Not that parents aren't interested now, but, you know, for some of them, they didn't want to go back to schools. Maybe they had a bad experience themselves. And for them, they didn't want to hear that their child was being bad.
Okay.
And so we're bringing them in a lot of non-threatening, fun ways, you know, beyond the usual band concerts and the choral concerts. We're looking at a number of different ways to get parents in fun activities and engage them in what their child's experience in the school.
Well, let's talk about one of the other physical things you can see that's a positive, the groundbreaking for the Freeman Primary School, correct?
Yes, I'm excited about that. As a as someone who grew up in Fruitland, attended Fruitland, what is now Fruitland Intermediate School, attended that first through sixth grade. I'm excited to see the Fruitland area get a brand new modern school, and that is exciting. But I will piggyback on that and say Wycomico County really needs one more school.
Yeah.
Not just a renovated school, but we need
Another elementary
We
school.
need another
Elementary
school.
school, yeah.
Whether it be elementary or middle school, we
Yeah.
need another school. Even with the redistricting that we just did,
It's
we
still
still have
urban
some
address.
schools that are overcrowded.
So just the number of students that were added to the rolls from 2023 to 2024 was about the equivalent of an elementary school.
Yes,
Correct.
absolutely.
When do you expect Fruitland Primary School, when will it be done?
I think that they're looking at 2027, 2028.
Okay.
It's going to take a while. I mean, but I'm sure anybody that's ridden by there has seen that they are in full-blown
Yeah.
construction mode there with getting that lot ready.
We have a bet as to what'll be finished first, Fruitland Primary or the renovated Blackwell building on the SU campus. So we'll
I don't know, but
see
you
how-
had a head start
race
on
is on.
that.
We did,
Blackwell
but
had
they,
a head
yeah,
start on
we'll
it.
see.
They really did. Yes, yes. But and our middle school, you know, I know that we talked about elementary school, but again, we look at our middle school. My mother graduated from Y High, which is the building that Y Middle is now. That building is still there.
It's 97 years old?
Yes, and both of the middle and high school that I graduated from are gone. I graduated from the Bennetts. They've both been rebuilt, brand new buildings, and yet the Y Middle building still stands.
I attended Y Middle, and 30-some years ago now.
Yes.
And it was really old back then, and
It's still old.
it's very old.
It's still-
It's gotten any younger in those
Yes,
30s.
It's got new windows.
Well, and again, and you have to give credit to our facilities department because they've done a great job in keeping that building, you know, usable and in good shape for our students and our teachers. But I do believe that we need a new middle school. Obviously, it's not going to be one that could be built on that same site because that site is just way too small for another one. You know, with Fruitland right now, we can build the school behind it. You know,
Yeah.
we did the same thing with Beaver Run. We can't do that with Y Middle.
Yeah.
And so I do believe that at some point in time, you know, once Fruitland is finished or at least financed,
On
we
to the
probably
next, yeah.
really need to take a look at what a new middle school might look like.
Well, you talked about redistricting. The school board has redistricted for the school districts. Do you think most parents are aware of what the changes will be?
Yes, and in fact, I have to give credit again to our departments that were really on top of making sure that parents were involved at every single aspect of this redistricting piece. I think it's one of the reasons why we didn't have the uproar that we've had in past redistrictings.
It has gone.
It's
not
much
yeah.
smoother.
It was
Now-
very well
Yes,
advertised.
and it's not every school. It's really just our elementary schools right now that we're taking a look at. But every parent was informed as to, you know, they had a GIS map online where parents could put their address in and see where their child would go if their child was changing schools. And they've all had the ability to ask for a waiver for this year or a waiver until their child finishes whatever elementary school that they're in. You know, if we have a student who's at, say, West Side Intermediate in 4th grade, or even, you know, incoming 5th grade. We don't want to move that child
At
for,
that point,
for one
for
year
one year,
and
yeah.
only to have them move to the middle school another year. So
Right, yeah.
again, the idea, it's not to anybody's benefit to do that.
Yeah, it's a good point.
Well, and another topic with redistricting, the county itself has 7 new districts
Yes.
instead of just 5. And that also pertains to the Board of Education
It
as well, right?
absolutely does. It absolutely does. We were included in that suit individually, by the way.
Yeah.
Which was a surprise to us. But in any case, yes, we now have 7 districts. And again, because that's what Wycomico County election districts are, of course, the Board of Ed will be using the same exact districts.
You do. You like if you're in a certain district for a county council person, you're in for the school board member. It's the
Right.
exact same map.
It's the
correct?
exact same map now.
So you're
Absolutely.
you're transitioning from the at-large,
Yes.
one of the 2 at-large seats
Yes.
to 6.
6, yeah, 6, which will be, you know, different for all of us.
Yeah, yeah.
But yes, it was one that, again, it includes whatever the county has, that is what the Board of Ed has.
So school does start, and the kids probably don't want to hear this, but the kids probably don't watch the show either.
Let's hope not.
Kids do start school in a couple weeks, so the school buses will be out there,
School
right?
buses will be out there. Letters have gone home with assignments. They went out a couple days ago, and so students should know who their teachers are now. The school buses will be out there. I did see the radar detectors out in front of Parkside again.
Joe Holloway gave a stern warning to the public at today's council
Yes.
meeting.
Well, you got to watch the light in front of Parkside.
Yeah.
But again, yes, you need to watch your speed. You need to please stop for our school buses. Don't try to go around them.
Blows my mind that people do that.
It really does.
It's like
it
shocking.
really does. Yes,
There's one other topic I want to bring up.
Sure.
Your husband's on the county council,
he is.
and he's working on a charity golf tournament in October.
Most certainly is.
It's going to help with middle school sports, right?
yes.
And honestly, this is the reason why I go to county council meetings. It's not to meet guys like Dr. Venosa over here. I'd like to get some details out for that. It's a golf tournament over at Green Hill,
It's
right?
a golf tournament at Green Hill, and I don't remember the date. It's in October.
Yeah.
Okay, there you go. But yes, it is designed to provide additional funding for our middle school sports. We've been very fortunate with the Greater Salisbury Committee's Education Committee providing some funding, last year along with Pohanka for our middle school sports. But this is going to provide some additional funding strictly for those sports so that we could expand the program.
Great.
We have a lot of students at the middle school level who have been involved. Much to the happiness of all of our teachers, because it then provides them with motivation for doing well in school,
Right, yeah.
provides them with motivation to come to school. And so middle school being one of the toughest, in my mind, grade
I think it
bands
is,
to teach. I mean, I taught middle school.
I have yet to meet a teacher who says that it's the easiest.
They are very tough, and so anything that we can do to motivate them to do well in school and to come to school, to be engaged, to
Incentivize them, really.
Yes, absolutely, and which is why we have our signature schools at each one of our in-town middle schools now. All three of our schools have a signature school, and Y Middle is now going to add some additional arts focus programs for our students at Y Middle. So, we're trying everything that we can think of that will appeal to the middle school student and get them engaged in a positive way and motivate them to be in school.
A lot of the students that I coach with soccer and futsal also play for Pittsfield Middle's volleyball team, basketball, flag football. It was interesting. Every week I would hear just how the teams were doing and then how they did on play days. I can absolutely attest that this is important to those kids.
Well, it really is. And other districts have had middle school sports for a while. In fact, some of the middle school sports in even Dorchester County, can compete with. Hopefully, what we can do is have some, competitions among the county teams, not just within the school district.
Yeah.
That would be nice.
Councilman Ennis did tell me today that he is planning on coming on the show, and we're going to promote this.
We got a two for this.
Well, we're going to talk golf and high school or middle school sports. So.
Yes. Well, those are two passions for him. Otherwise, that's exactly why he's doing this golf tournament. He loves golf,
We might have to do two shows then.
but he does love the idea of middle school sports, and we remember our own children and how they were in middle school and keeping them active in something.
Well, thank you for coming out with us today. Thank you, Dr. Venosa.
Happy to do so.
Thank you.
So stay with us. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Open Agenda. Mr. Jim Atkins, thanks for coming back.
Sure.
Dr. Joe Venosa, thanks for sticking around.
Always.
So it was an interesting conversation with Dr. Ennis.
Yeah, she's great.
She's such a bright spirit and a positive person.
Oh, wonderful, wonderful.
So we talked back in the spring when the executive was putting out her budget proposal, and even back in March when the executive came out with her 4 options. And we've covered this. Later on we found out it was a whole bait and switch thing and whatever. But at the end of the day, when you listen to how much work went into this maintenance of effort funding to push it up permanently, and then also invest an additional 2%. Do you get the sense that you have some folks on the Board of Education who are actively pursuing the most economical way to educate the students?
Yeah, I think there are. I mean, the biggest problem, I believe, with Wacomico County's educational system is that it has gotten so far behind on having updated and modern facilities. I mean, she talked about the Fruitland Intermediate when she was a child. We've talked about Y Middle, which was Y High at one time. It is approaching 100 years old. I mean, we've just gotten a complete renovation of Mardella High School, which is the second renovation done to that school, because that school was built in 1936 by the WPA work group. That school was built. And when I started going to Mardella at 1963, it was a 1st through 12th grade school.
Oh, wow.
So, I mean, it stood a long time and served this purpose. But, the county just, with lack of funding and different things, has not been able to make the schools what they need to be.
It's something that I really, especially as a parent, I really sort of have a lot of, I don't want to say aggravation. I guess, aggravation and also dismay at when you see districts that have kept up with not just funding, because the buildings are one thing, that's absolutely important, but the people you have in them also matter too. And when you don't have enough teachers or aides or classrooms for certain kinds of students, you really do see how they're missing out on things. Because again, it's like a garden, right? Like you raise a child, you're investing. I hate that word investing in that sense, because we typically put it with. Like,
You think there's a return on investment,
well,
but there's not. Yeah.
Well, whether or not there is, investing can be more than money, and that's how I'm using it. But it is an investment in your future society. And so when you see shortcuts or a recalcitrance of certain maybe past councils or executives to not really fund it, I look at it like you're shorting your own future.
Yeah. And the lack of funding for Board of Education precedes our current county.
It certainly does.
It goes back to Bob Culver.
It really,
And it really makes you wonder, when the budgets and everything back in the 08 through 12 and all that, when things really got tight and all, seems like the schools were the first thing that got cut. Maybe they weren't, but it seems like they got cut the hardest of everything else in the county. And, as a county employee at that time, there were no raises for a couple years. But there were other things that went on in this county that maybe the Board of Education should have benefited from more than something else. Mm-hmm. The wrong strings were pulled for the wrong people at the wrong times.
I think you look at how long it took to go from we want to build Fruitland Primary to getting the funding, putting shovels in the ground, and it's still not going to open for another couple of years. Mm-hmm. And the next school, even if they started tomorrow, we're probably in the 2030s before it's built. So Y Middle,
that line
building
is
will
still
definitely
there.
be over 100 years old.
Yeah.
And I mean, you're in the situation now where so much of the problem with getting Fruitland Primary started was the state funding.
Sure.
Which still isn't solved.
Which still is, it's a long way from being solved.
Yeah.
So
On the second year funding, we're good through this fiscal year, but next year's funding is going to be a
where do
challenge.
we stand from there?
Yeah.
So.
Well, thank you, gentlemen. Appreciate it. Thanks for watching this episode of Open Agenda. We'll be back later this week with another new episode. The Maryland Coordinated Permit Review Council has started 6 pilot programs in the state. I'm not sure if you are familiar with it or how familiar you are. It's not something that I know a ton about right now, and it's kind of scary. At least on the surface, it seems as though the state is going to direct state funds directly to developers for projects that the state approves. There is a belief that this will allow the state to force small towns such as Willards or Sharptown to accept development that they may not deem fit or they may not want in their town. To that end, one of the pilot programs is in Salisbury, and currently the mayor of Salisbury is fighting for infrastructure improvements that aren't funded because our state government right now is looking to end-run our local codes. And there's one case study that I think should scare all of us, and this is the biodiesel refinery on Atkins Road. Okay, that gentleman has been on the east side of the county. He's now on the west side of the county with state money. He's appealing that decision to circuit court, and I don't know that he's using his own money or if he's using state money. It would be really bad to have someone from Baltimore County to come to our county, use our state funds to fight us and our own citizens.